That's bad manners. You always know. You do waterboard people in the kitchen.
King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla will shortly be beginning the procession in the Diamond Jubilee State Coach. There we're looking at the entrance of Buckingham Palace, out of which they will shortly be emerging. Dignitaries from around the world have been assembling in the Abbey for this service. Places have been very limited this time round. When the Queen was crowned in 1953, special scaffolding was built inside the Abbey to increase the capacity so that all the members of Parliament and peers of the realm could participate in the event. This time round, King Charles has asked for a smaller ceremony, and so fewer guests have been here, and there's been quite a lot of competition for those places. And there we can see in the background the coronation chair on which shortly King Charles will be crowned king. Among the European leaders who will be coming to this event are the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, Roberta Metsola and Charles Michel, as well as many of the heads of state of European countries.
I think he wants to do a law conversion. He's smarter than I am.
Places on the Mall for the procession to the service were given out on a first-come, first-served basis to members of the public, so those who got there early enough were able to get a place on the route, whilst others have been invited to watch the ceremony on giant screens in parks across London. The procession will be led by the mounted band of the Household Cavalry, followed by the 1st and 2nd Divisions of the Sovereign's Escort. King Charles and Camilla, the Queen Consort, will be travelling in the Diamond Jubilee State Coach, which we can see here, which was built in 2012 for the late Queen Elizabeth II. The gilded coach was built in Australia to provide a more comfortable coach than the traditional coaches previously used by the British sovereigns. It's got air conditioning and hydraulic suspension, unlike their predecessors. The gilded crown you can see on the top there of the Diamond Jubilee State Coach was carved from oak from HMS Victory. And the coach's interior is inlaid with samples of woods metals and other materials from buildings and palaces with specific connections to Britain and its history. Royal residences such as Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace and Windsor Castle. Included in that carriage are also pieces of wood from historic ships such as the Mary Rose. King Charles has been the heir to the British throne for 70 years and became the oldest person to succeed to the throne in September of last year. We can see there former Prime Minister Tony Blair and his wife Sherry Blair alongside John Major, another former British Prime Minister, and behind them Gordon Brown and David Cameron. In all, 7 former British Prime Ministers are among the elite number of guests in this small scaled down ceremony. The rain beginning to fall a little harder there. The competition for places for this ceremony has been very tight. In 1953, all MPs and peers were invited. This time round, just 40 MPs and 40 peers have been invited. And many royal dukes have missed the cut in this reduced scale service. To the disgruntlement of many. Places have, though, been found for many world leaders and monarchs across the world, which is a break from tradition because in 1953 monarchs from other royal families were not invited to Queen Elizabeth's coronation. Another former Prime Minister there, Boris Johnson, who is on the invited list. A smattering of celebrities will be present too as well. The Australian singer Nick Cave is one of the surprise guests, along with Stella McCartney, Rowan Atkinson and Lionel Richie. But here we're seeing former UK Prime Ministers entering Westminster Abbey. King Charles will not just become the King of England and Great Britain, but also of 14 other nations across the world who have him as their constitutional monarch. And he will also become the head of the Commonwealth, the Organization of Nations, which was built up originally composed of members of the British Empire and the British Commonwealth, but now open to nations who are not former British colonies. Among the European leaders who will be coming along, the German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, France's President Emmanuel Macron, Italy's President Sergio Mattarella, and the Polish President Andrzej Duda.
Sunak.
Yeah, Sunak, the right at the back.
American President Joe Biden will not be attending, although his wife, the First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, will be present. No American president has ever attended a coronation of a British monarch. President Dwight Eisenhower was invited to the crowning of Queen Elizabeth II, but he declined the invitation. Here we have Rishi Sunak, the current Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who will be attending alongside with many members of his cabinet, a decision again which vexed some of the other members of the parliament who were not invited. See Rishi Sunak there with his wife, Akshata Murthy. Rishi Sunak is of Hindu faith and will be participating in this ceremony, which is an ecumenical ceremony featuring leaders from other religions, Muslim, Hindu, and Catholic leaders will be present at this ceremony. Again, a first for the British monarchy. Of course, the King becomes the head of the Church of England, and so this opening up of the ceremony to other religions is a step that King Charles personally asked for. Other British politicians who will be present include representatives of Sinn Féin, the Northern Ireland political organisation, which was formerly the political wing of the paramilitary Irish Republican Army. Michelle O'Neill is now First Minister-elect in Northern Ireland and will attend in that function. Another Republican who will be attending is Scotland's First Minister, Humza Yousaf. He said he thought it was an obligation to represent Scotland at the ceremony, despite his Republican views. Returning now to shots of the carriage, which will shortly be transporting King Charles and Queen Consort to Westminster Abbey. The procession to the Abbey is a small-scale procession, whereas the procession back will be a much larger affair with dignitaries from countries across the world participating in the procession. And there we can see that the procession has begun. The carriage is moving out of Buckingham Palace.
Umbrella. Sorry. Umbrella. Please. Just move. Tell us you can use it, but not have it.
Here we go, guys, it's starting.
So here we can see the 6 Windsor Grey horses leading out King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla. the Windsor Greys selected for this honour are called Icon, Shadow, Milford Haven, Echo, Knightsbridge and Tyrone. There we have a first shot of King Charles in his regalia for the ceremony alongside Queen Camilla. We can see they're both dressed in white laced with gold. And now we have the national anthem. So the King's Guard turning out of the forecourt of Buckingham Palace, being led out by the 1st Division of the Sovereign's Escort, the 2nd Division of the Sovereign's Escort, and followed by the Escort Commander, the Standard Coverer, the Sovereign's Standard of the Household Cavalry, Field Officer of the Escort, the Trumpeter, following up behind the 3rd Division of the Sovereign's Escort, the 4th Division of the Sovereign's Escort, and the State Car. Cheers there from the assembled crowds on a rainy day in London. A wave there, I believe that was King Charles, giving a wave to the crowds. Procession time to reach Westminster Abbey has been timed at 23 minutes. Let's see if they keep to the clock. Along the processional route, special stands have been constructed for members of the public, including military veterans, NHS workers, the National Health Service workers, and others with special needs, for whom stands have been constructed in Trafalgar Square, here in the Mall where we now are, and in front of Buckingham Palace. Camilla there waving to the crowd. She too will be crowned today as Queen Consort. In conformity with the wishes of the late Queen Elizabeth, who asked that she should be given that title. There are some 1,000 members of the armed forces participating in this procession. can see on the sides of the mall the flags of the Commonwealth nations. See there in the background, flag-waving members of the public. Many queued out there for weeks to get their spot. There are 5 phases to today's ceremony. It will begin with the recognition, when King Charles will be presented to the people, a tradition which dates back to Anglo-Saxon times. Then the king will take the oath, swearing to uphold the law and the Church of England during his reign. Third stage of the ceremony will be the anointing. This is considered the most sacred part of the ceremony. The Archbishop of Canterbury will pour special oil from a gold flask onto the coronation spoon before anointing the king in the form of a cross on his head, breast and hands. That ceremony is not expected to be visible to the public, as it's considered a sacred event and wasn't televised in 1953 for the Queen's coronation. The fourth stage of the ceremony is the investiture. That's the big moment where the king will get to wear the crown, St. Edward's crown, for the only time in his life. That's the crown which is used simply for this ceremony. Remake of a crown. It was first designed in 1220. The first version was melted down by Cromwell during the Republican era. And the remake was made for King Charles II. And the fifth stage of the ceremony is the homage. Traditionally, it was peers of the realm who swore their loyalty to the king. But this time round, the organisers have asked that members of the public who want to also join in paying homage to the king. An alteration to proceedings which wasn't to everybody's liking, but the Archbishop of Canterbury has insisted that it is not an obligation of British citizens to swear homage to the King, but simply an option should they wish to participate in the ceremony. There will then be a second royal procession, a much bigger one, back down this same route that we're looking at now, featuring heads of state from around the world. And then the King and the Queen Consort are expected to appear on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, where there will be a fly-past involving members of the Army, the Royal Navy, and a display by the Red Arrows, which is the display formation of the Royal Air Force. So all in all, proceedings will last some 4 hours, and we'll be following them live here on Euronews throughout this afternoon. Among the members of the British royal family who will be present are King Charles's brothers and sister, Princess Anne, and her husband, Sir Timothy Lawrence, along with their 2 children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall, along with her husband, Mike Tyndall. They chose not to adopt royal titles, unlike King Charles's other grandchildren. Prince Andrew will be present, though not his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. And their children, Princess Beatrice and husband Eduardo Mepelli Mozzi, and Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank. Princess Edward and Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, will be also present, along with their children, Lady Louise and James, the Earl of Wessex. And of course, King Charles's children and some of his grandchildren will be present. Prince William and Princess Kate, along with their children, Prince George, now aged 9, Princess Charlotte, 8, and Prince Louis, 5. The national anthem once again being played. Prince Harry will be present, the Duke of Sussex, but not his wife, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, who's preferred to stay at home to celebrate the 4th birthday of her son, Prince Archie, back in the United States. Turning round now, Trafalgar Square, and heading towards the Houses of Parliament. The tradition of crowning kings at Westminster Abbey began with William the Conqueror, who wanted the ceremony to take place close to the seat of parliamentary power to show his authority. Coronation is a religious event. It doesn't really have a constitutional value as such. King Charles became king immediately after the death of the Queen. And two monarchs, King Edward V and King Edward VIII, never did get to have a coronation. Here we are seeing the arrivals of the members of the royal families. There we see Prince Harry, who's been assigned a modest role in this ceremony, unlike his brother Prince William, who will be to the fore. His autobiography Spare may have had something to do with that decision. Also see Prince Andrew there with his children. Another royal who has fallen somewhat out of favour and will be given a discreet role today. Prince Harry looking somewhat solitary there. We just saw Princess Anne passing there. And here we have Prince Edward. Now alongside with Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. Along with his children, Lady Louise and James, the Earl of Wessex. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, a great favourite with the late Queen Elizabeth II. There are still many active monarchies in Europe, and among the active royals who are present today, Belgium's King Philippe, King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, Grand Duke Henri and Grand Duchess Maria Theresa of Luxembourg, as well as royals from Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Spain, Greece, Liechtenstein and Monaco. And there will also be representatives of Europe's ex-monarchies from Serbia, Romania, Baden and Bulgaria. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, will be leading the ceremony. He is the senior member of the Church of England, beneath the King himself. Representatives of other religions include Rabbi Ephraim Mervis, the chief rabbi of the United Kingdom, representing Judaism. Ven Bogoda Silawamale Nyaka, the head monk of the London Buddhist Vihara, and Chief Sangha Nayaka of Great Britain, representing Buddhism. Indarjit Singh, Baron Singh of Wimbledon, is a prominent member of the Sikh community and will be representing that community and also participating in the ceremony. Radha Mohan Das of Bhaktivedanta Manor Temple will be representing Hinduism. And representing the Islam religion, Alaya Azam, the Education and Interfaith Coordinator of the Al-Kowi Foundation. King Charles will enter through the Great West Door of Westminster Abbey and proceed through the nave until he reaches the central space. This will be the first occasion we'll get to see what he's wearing alongside Queen Consort Camilla. It had been expected that he'd be wearing a military uniform, as opposed to the more traditional breeches and silk stockings which have traditionally been worn by kings. But peeking through the window of that carriage, doesn't appear to be a military uniform. We shall see. The horses showing off their reverse gears there. And very shortly, King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla will be descending from the royal carriage. These shots will no doubt cause some commentary. Not sure King Charles was upset with something there. I think lip readers will be having a field day this afternoon. A few umbrellas out, clearly the rain continuing to pour. Princess Anne and Sir Tim Lawrence there just behind Prince Edward and Sophie. Just preparing for the descent from the carriage. Looks like it arrived a minute or two early there. Here we are. Queen Camilla, Queen Consort, the first to descend from the carriage. She has chosen her own pages of honor. can see there her three grandsons, the twins, Gus and Louis Lopez, 13, and Freddie Parker Bowles, 13, as well as her great nephew, Arthur Elliott, 10. And now King Charles descends from the carriage. He is indeed wearing military uniform. His pages of honour are schoolboys Lord Oliver Cholmondeley, Nicholas Barclay and Ralph Tollmark, alongside Prince George, his 9-year-old grandson. Following in his footsteps, Prince William and Princess Kate, along with their two other children, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. Prince William, of course, now the heir to the throne. Ahead of the procession, the royal regalia. Aside from the King Edward crown, there's the sovereign's orb, which is a cross mounted on a globe symbolising the Christian world. The sovereign's sceptre with a cross, representing kingly power and justice. And the sovereign's sceptre with a dove, also called the rod of equity and mercy.